Bristol Community College, Mathematics with Dan Avedikian, Math 132, Calculus with Applications, Section 11.4, Problem 7. This is Section 11.4, Problem number 7. It says, use the formula f prime of x equals the limit as h approaches 0 of f of x plus h minus f of x over h to find the derivative of the function f of x equals 5. And then part A, find the slope of f of x when x equals 8. And part B, find the slope of f of x when x equals negative 6. So to find the derivative, we're going to use the formula that's given in the question. F prime of x equals the limit as h approaches 0 of f of x plus h minus f of x over h. But when I've rewritten this formula, I've printed the parts in different colors. The f of x plus h is in blue, the f of x is in red, and the h is in green. So we'll do the f of x plus h first. So the formula that's given, or the function I should say that's given, is f of x equals 5. So if I put in x plus h as an input, there's no x to replace it with. The answer is just 5. So there's no simplifying, there's no combining of like terms, I just got a 5. So we can come right over to the formula for the derivative. F prime of x equals the limit as h approaches 0 of, so first, f of x plus h. The work we got for f of x plus h is 5. Then I have a minus, so I'll put that in minus. Then in red, f of x. So f of x is given. It's 5. Then in the denominator, I have h. So I fill the whole thing in. And now I can simplify the top. 5 minus 5 is 0. So what I have is f prime of x equals the limit as h approaches 0 of 0 over h. Well, really then f prime of x equals the limit as h approaches 0 of just 0. Remember, 0 in the numerator of a fraction is okay, that's 0. 0 in the denominator would be undefined. So when I simplify this fraction of 0 over h, I just get 0. So I'm taking the limit as h approaches 0 of 0. There's no h left to plug in a 0 for. So no matter what value h approaches, the answer is 0. So f prime of x is 0 for all values of x. F prime of x equals 0. So now going back to part A and part B of the question, it says find the slope of f of x when x is 8. So f prime of 8 equals 0. And for when x equals negative 6, f prime of negative 6 equals 0. It seems like a very odd result, but if you think of what the graph would look like, you'll understand why. So what is f of x equal 5? Well, first of all, I can also write it as y equals 5. So remember, when you have y equals just a number, that's a horizontal line at whatever height the number is. So y equals 5, or the same as f of x equals 5, is a horizontal line at a height of 5. So at every point on this horizontal line, the slope is 0. So part A says, what's the slope when x is 8? So let's say you go out 8. What's the slope when x equals 8? Well, the slope is 0. What's the slope of this function when x is negative 6? So if I went back negative 6 on the x scale, the slope is still going to be 0. In fact, whatever point I pick on a horizontal line will have a slope of 0. That's why f prime of x came out to 0. When you do think of what the graph looks like, it makes sense that your answer would come out to 0. Now again, you didn't need to know what the graph looked like to find the value of the derivative. But it helps if you do know what the graph looks like.